Those are my favorite kind, the shameless ones.
I
Ladies
gotta
and
gotta throw a
gentlemen,
shameless plug in there.
right? Hey, dude, that's what Keeping It Real is all about. And ladies
Yeah,
and gentlemen,
but
this is
here's one
Keeping It
right here.
Real. Check it out. We've got our main man in the house today, Mr. Cole Reynolds, sole proprietor of Greenway Gutter Pros. Go ahead and put that back up there real quick, Cole.
Hey, here's my shameless plug, everybody.
East Texas and other parts of Texas, from what I can gather.
Yes, sir.
Here's your gutter man. So, Cole, welcome to Keeping It Real, my friend. I've been wanting to have you on this podcast since day one, and we finally made it happen. Today, it's Thursday. It's 5:46 a.m.
Yes, it is.
And it's the perfect time to have Keeping It Real. So, how's everything going with you today, my friend?
Man, it is going great. I've been up since 4. I knew we had this early podcast. Went and hit the gym early. Got ready for it. Saw your Facebook post. I know you did the same thing. And yeah, I've been following Keep It Real for years now, and always wanted to be on it. But I said one day Chuck will reach out to me and ask me to do it. I'm not going to reach out to him first. And then check my DMs this week, and sure enough, you're ready to do one. So here we are, brother.
Here we are. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Throw shameless plugs up here, every 30 seconds. So
this is what it's all about. Shameless plugs. I'm going to ask you for one later. So it's all good. So, Cole, you and I, we've known each other for over 4 years. I guess 2019 is when I started over at ASAP Roofing, and you were there. And we worked together for, I guess, like a year and a half-ish, something like that.
Yes, sir.
And I wanted to just say that, I could tell very early on that you were a pretty talented guy and that you were going to do some pretty big things. So from the very onset, I've had a lot of respect for you. But really, the truth of the matter is, I think your life story, dude, is what's the most respectable thing about you. I've lost track of years. I think you're like 23 or 24 when we met. So I'm guessing 28-ish now.
Just turned 29.
29. Oh, dude, you're getting old.
I know.
Don't worry. It gets better after 30.
This morning when I woke up.
And me too, for the last 20 years. But so we met, and it was one of those deals where, the roofing industry to me is really cool because it can help people with opportunities and can give things to folks that maybe other things aren't willing to give in a time of need or, a time of redemption. And if you wouldn't mind, as much as you would like to tell of this, I have a pretty diverse audience here on Keeping It Real. It's definitely not just roofing people, but there's a lot of roofers. But I think your story is super inspiring, and I think there's a ton of people that you could positively affect with it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and, how you got to where you're at today? Because I think it's one of the most inspiring stories that I've heard.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it, first off. And yeah, man, I'll dive into a little bit of the backstory. Just going back to high school, graduated high school, and, I'm hanging out with the wrong crowd of people. Getting caught up in the wrong things. I'm using drugs, and I get caught up and I get sent to prison when I was 18 years old. So I got sent to prison on a drug charge with a 6-year sentence, and I served 2.5 years of that. And so I got out around 23 years old. When I got out, I had trouble finding a job. So the first thing I was able to find was working at a car shop, rotating tires, changing oil, doing the basics. And after I got pregnant with my first daughter, we decided that wasn't going to be able to meet the income level that we needed. So I had done a roof or two before in the past, and I decided I'm going to go roof. Sales was not in the plan. I was going to go up there and be a laborer on the crew. If I could just make $150 a day, $200 a day, that'd be better than what I was doing. So that is how I got linked up with the roofing industry, was to be a laborer. And my first day I spent on the crew, and Clint called me, or I got sent home from the crew early by 3 p.m. because I was give out, basically. I was not in roofing shape. So I got linked up with ASAP Roofing that way, and got taught sales training and got put into sales, and came up pretty quickly in the sales game. I got good at knocking doors and figuring out the whole thing about that. And that's about the time when I met you, which would have been 10X in Miami. Would have been the first time that we met. Yes, sir. at the Grant Cardone conference. So, and then we came back, and I remember riding out with you the first day to Palestine, Texas, and we went and signed 3 contracts on the first day that me and you rode together. You remember that?
I remember the one with the dome.
Yes.
I definitely remember that because the guy had a boxer, and I always remember those kind of things. And I don't remember if you were. I don't remember if you were with me at this one or not, but I fell through the front steps on some dude's house as well.
Yes,
and
that was one of them.
Just straight through. So yeah, definitely fond memories. I got my ass kicked pretty hard over there in Palestine that day, but that was a ton of fun. And you're right, man. Like that from the very onset, I could tell that you had the ability to be really, really outstanding at sales just because, I guess, yeah, obviously I don't know from experience, but being an 18-year-old kid and having to grow up pretty damn fast in an environment that's not really conducive of an 18-year-old growing up in a healthy environment.
Yep.
You probably seen some stuff and you had to develop pretty quick some survival skills, but I think
and you know what I really had to develop was getting over the fear of rejection. Being told no. I mean, that was probably my main strength in the beginning, is just my lack of awareness of what sales actually is. I'm just a dummy out here thinking everything's possible. And that was probably the best thing for me.
Definitely, man. And that it always was something that just exuded from you. And I remember when you were the branch manager out there and we would do the gift giveaways for the month.
Right.
And the one that I always remember, this was like the funniest thing ever, is you had a camera and you were at Target and you like went running and did like a somersault like behind a tree and you were looking all around. And it was like, dude, that energy right there. I mean, that was a small little, a community there.
Yeah.
But like you took over and people knew what was going on and people were paying attention to it because of that energy. And
that's right.
That energy to me is something that you can't fake. I mean, you either have it or you don't. And, from a very early stage of your career, I was getting there, very early on and we got to meet. You were the guy that was standing up in front of the entire room that had, 50 plus people in it. And we're leading the meetings and we're being motivational and we're planning out things and helping the younger people along the way. And that was something that was pretty cool. I could tell that you took a lot of pride in your team and your guys. And I thought it was a natural evolution. So the roofing deal, it didn't pan out, whatever. You outgrow things. I mean, we all do. And I just did the same thing. As a matter of fact, there's nothing wrong with outgrowing your situation and becoming a bigger, better version of yourself.
Right.
You jumped out there and took a pretty bold risk and decided, okay, I'm going to start my own company from the ground up with, what I've got. And tell me a little bit about the decision that, the process that you had to go through, because again, you've got a young family, you've got responsibilities, jumping out and doing that, man. Sometimes it doesn't work out. But sometimes it does. So tell me the thought behind it and, how much you had to go back and forth before deciding, okay, now's the time. I'm going to do it. If I don't do it now, I may never.
You're right. It is a huge risk to jump out on your own and you don't know if it's going to work. And I'll tell you, Chuck, there were a couple times where it almost didn't work. And we pushed through it. So the decision to start a gutter company. So we are Seamless Gutters. We're Greenway Gutter Pros. We do all things gutters, cleaning, screens, installations, repairs, commercial gutters. We do anything that deals with gutters. We don't do roofs because I was a roofer before. And so when I was a roofer, I would sell a roof. I get the insurance claim. I get the RCV for the roof and the gutters. And I would go to sub out the gutters. And as a roofing salesman, I always had trouble communicating with the gutter guys or getting them there on the day of the job properly, or if there was a problem, getting them back to fix it the next day, or just communication was always an issue. And so I didn't know what to do. So I'd go on Google and look up gutter companies. And there's nobody there, like nobody really credible there, nobody with more than 10 or 15 reviews. And through the roofing game, I had learned about Google, and Google is king in the service-based business industry. And so I had this thought because, they teach you as an entrepreneur, if you solve a problem, that's the whole point of the business, is to take a problem and solve it. So I saw the problem as roofing salesmen in town don't have a solid subcontractor that they could use. If they had one that they could use that was right every time and took care of business every single time, then that person would kill it. That was the idea behind starting the gutter company, was just, there's a need, solve the need in town. When we first started, I didn't know it would turn into this. I had left the roofing industry, bought a gutter machine and a trailer, and pretty much depleted all of my money into the machine and the trailer. So I had less than $1,000 in my bank account after I made those purchases. And I had zero work in my pipeline. I didn't have a gutter job on the schedule. And I'll also say this was November of 2020. So we were in peak COVID season. And so what I would do is I would go to ABC and I'd get a box of gutter screens, SureFlow gutter screens, and I'd throw them on my shoulder and I'd go door to door. And I'd knock on door and I'd ask if I could install gutter screens today and get paid today, because I've got bills due by Friday. And man, I spent 30 days to 40 days like that. The first month was a real struggle getting this business off the ground. It was 100% bootstrapped. But that's a good thing, because today we have zero debt as a company. And we've been able to grow the right way. And the gutter industry is quite simple compared to the roofing industry, which is very nice because I don't have to deal with insurance companies on the daily.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, that is such a cool story, because it was, like you said, everything is kind of stacked against you, but it's like, dude, this is going to work. I don't have any doubt in my mind, even though I do. And I mean, dude, going door to door is like, that's one of those things. It's so magical that you can look back at it even now, but 10 years down the road, you're going to look back and just be like, damn, that is how I started this whole thing, because that's how I had to start it. And I think most amazing companies are like that.
The first 6 months was such a struggle that during that time, it wasn't worth it. And now that I'm out of the first, I guess you'd call it startup phase. Now that I'm out of that initial struggle and initial, capital that I need, that I'm constantly redeploying to keep the business and doors open. Now I look back on that first 6 months and I am so grateful for that struggle, because any small issue we have now, like say we have a gutter that we did that leaked, I just look back on the major problems that we had in the beginning of the business and I go, man, like our life is amazing right now. Like if this is the worst of our problems, we know we're going to handle this today and move on with it. And we've taken that approach and fed it to our team, and everyone on the team here at Greenway is completely bought into the customer service. So we have a 24-hour rule. Anyone who calls in gets an appointment within 24 hours. Anyone with a call back with a problem gets taken care of within 24 hours. And, being a 5-star company, and I will say this for any gutter company or gutter company owner, you're going to have callbacks. And I believe what truly makes the difference is how fast and how well do you take care of your customers when they have issues. I've noticed that some of the other companies around here struggle with that part in particular. So we get a lot of calls to fix other people's problems, and that gets us a lot of business. And also, our general manager used to be a roofing salesman, and so did I. So a lot of our customer base is roofing companies, and we're knowledgeable in all the roofing terminology. We're also knowledgeable in the insurance process. So that helps when we're dealing with their customers too, that we don't stick our foot in our mouth, say something that we don't need to. And so that helps the roofers that give us jobs, give them confidence that we're going to be able to take care of them.
Yeah, dude. And like you said, that's the most important aspect. I mean, I had a roofing business and I've been in roofing contracting the last 10 years. And the thing I hated the most was gutters, quite frankly,
Right.
And it was always like, dude, just get over there and just do it. I'm waiting on you just to put 3 downspouts. I'm waiting on just a little thing. It's leaking, whatever. And there's such a huge need for it, because I don't know. I mean, I guess it's like roofing to a degree that there are so many people that just are slacking and just barely getting by with it that it's become acceptable, but it's not
Well,
acceptable, you know?
a lot of gutter guys are just guys in a trailer with a helper. Um, we wanted to take a different approach to it. Roofing companies treat their company like a baby. They really take care of it. They build the Google SEO, they treat the YouTube right, they pay for organic marketing, they do good branding. All that we did was take a gutter company and apply everything I knew about roofing to gutters. We were just going to be the best gutter company that ever existed and take. Now, this is what always confused me about the gutter industry is why do other gutter company owners not take, the business side of it so seriously? We were able to capture the first spot on Google within 1 year, and we've kept it ever since then, and that provides us with 70 to 100 organic leads a month that we don't have to pay for. So that's pretty incredible. Now, I will say, moving from the roofing industry to the gutter industry, your average ticket on a job goes way down. So an average roof is what? 12,000 to 20,000 plus, depending on how big it is. But an average gutter job can be $1,000 or less sometimes, to around $2,000, and anything over $2,000 is what we consider an expensive gutter job. So the ticket is quite low. So we have to do, almost 10 times the amount of volume just to keep up with the revenue for roofing numbers. But the margins are pretty good, so I will say that.
Yeah, so it balances out. It's worth its while. So let me ask you this, Cole. You get started, you've got a brand new company. People do know you in town, obviously, because you've been around for a while and you've developed a good reputation. How do you go about securing clientele? You just said roofing companies obviously are your bread and butter to get started.
Mhm.
What'd you do, man? You just go into everybody's office and say, "Hey, I just want to do your gutters. Give me a shot." Or what did
That's
that look like for you getting started? And how did you develop that as you went? Was it similar to roofing sales in any way?
Yeah, it's very similar to roofing sales. I think all sales are going to be very similar. In one way that it's different, it's business to business sales instead of business to consumer sales. So I'm not knocking on residential doors when I'm trying to get roofing accounts. But here's what I did. I went to Google, and I looked up roofing companies, Tyler, Texas, and I wrote down the top 30. Okay. Then I would go to Facebook and I would look up the company and try to figure out who is the owner or the production manager or who the decision maker is that could authorize us to do the gutters. I'd get that contact. Then I'd hit about 8 of them a day. I'd call them or I'd cold walk in with a packet with our gutter contractor pricing with a couple samples. Just try to stand out, get our name out there. That worked almost immediately. Like I gained 3 roofing contractors on the first day and never really looked back since then. I mean, we currently have 25 plus roofing companies that we do gutters for. And in the beginning, I would say we were like 90%, all of our work came from contractors. Hey, I see the modern or the superb builders. Nice. Shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. Representing.
Represent. So in the beginning, we were probably 90% of our work came from contractors, and contractors get a better price than retail. So we were suffering on our revenue because we're working for cheap, but they're giving us jobs. They're feeding us jobs. It's keeping our doors open. Okay, we'll take it. Since then, the focus has been get the 90% contractor versus 10% retail this way. Get retail way on up here. So now, after 2.5, almost 3 years of Google work, we have 196 5-star reviews, and we're solidly in first place. I would say we are almost 70% retail jobs now versus 30% contractors. And what that has done is raised our average ticket price, raised our margins, and allowed us to pick and choose the contractors that we want to work with. Because as you know, not all roofing companies are built the same. And we prefer to work with the more established roofing companies, the ones that have an office staff, the ones that have a real system and process, because we have a real system and process here. So if they do as well, we kind of get our systems meshed together and get everything working smooth.
Yeah, do it to get paid, right? I mean, that's the whole point. And I think it's amazing that you could build it up that quick. So I guess the next step in this is production. And I know you're a production guy, you're in your mid 20s. You can go out there and do, installation to start your business, because a lot of people are hands-on when they get going with their new company.
That's right.
Obviously, I'm sure you were the same thing, but you can't do gutter runs by yourself.
That's right.
So how does this work for you? You have to sell your dream to somebody to come out and help you and get started with your company. How do you go about finding that first person that you're going to bring in that's going to help you, that can, be benefiting from your company as well and buys into that kind of a dream?
It was easy for me, but I will say it's not easy. It's not easy to sell the dream to somebody, but yeah, I got a friend to help me out for the first 6 months on just the labor side. And so, we'd go do an install, and during installs, I would be installing and also answering the phone, writing down the information, stopping the install at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and then running sales appointments for 6, 7, and 8 p.m. And that was a struggle for the first 6 months. As we grew on Google, we started getting more leads than we could handle, because I did not have time to run that many appointments. So the first thing we did was hire a second labor person. And then we got an office 7 months in. And the first week that we got an office, we hired Taylor. That's Taylor Burkett, and she used to be a roofer. And she came in just to run the office. And throughout, I really think on the very first day that Taylor started, I got caught up in the field doing something on an install, and I was going to be late to a sales appointment. And we just kind of winged it. I said, "Could you run this sales appointment?" And she's like, "Yeah, I think we could." And so she runs the sales appointment, closes the deal, and my eyes open. I'm like, oh, well, if she can sell, that can take a big portion off of the workload off of my plate. So then we moved her just from an office manager to the general manager of the entire company. And so she's been with us for almost 2 years now, and she runs pretty much the entire operation now.
That's awesome, man. I love, those stories of just coming in and immediately making a positive impact and, taking the ball and running with it. That's so cool, because it's a young company and the opportunity is limitless. And having that enthusiasm, like we said, that is something that you can't teach. It's just something that's born into the culture that you have with your company. And that is Greenway Gutter Pros, ladies and gentlemen.
That
East
is
Texas'
Greenway.
finest gutter company. That's 903-630-4291.
Serving all of East Texas and Dallas DFW area.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into that. You've grown your company. Okay. It's been about 3 years, roughly 2.5, 3 years. You went through the initial startup phase, which is the part that kicks everybody's butt, man. And
right.
If you make it through that, it's like, all right, hey, things are starting to get a little bit better, but they never really get better. There's always something just waiting to be a disaster. There's, all kinds of weird stuff. When you have your own company, now you've got other things to think about. You start a production team, and as you continue to grow, you've got 25 roofing contractors. What happens if you get hit with hail and all of a sudden you've got 25 different roofers calling you? You've got all the homeowners now because you built the retail. Mm-hmm. It's time to focus on the other parts of your business, I'm assuming, at this stage. So tell me what you did and how you focused on, getting yourself out of the field. It's, you did that pretty quickly, as soon as it became available and necessary. But what's it look like now to make duplicates, little Coles running all over town, signing deals left and right? And, how do you find the time to make all that work while you're also completely slammed with leads and you're trying to run them all and do business?
Well, anyone who runs a business is going to know the answer to this. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. Like, there's just no way around that part of it. You're going to have to put the time in. I would say the next part is making sure you're putting the time in with the right person. And you're going to know this because you run sales teams. You know, not everyone is deserving of all the energy and effort that you're going to put in, because they're not going to take the advice and run with it. But if you find that person that is talented, that is an A+ player, that's where you need to recognize and really slow down and put extra time in. The whole point of scaling a business is taking the skills that you know and just recreating yourself in another person. And then if you're really good at it, you will also teach that person how to recreate themselves for another person. And then if you've got levels of management that all know how to replace themselves and teach the skills that they know to the next person, then we can grow up evenly and not too fast to where we get in a cash flow situation where we're screwing ourselves. If we can do it the right way and grow properly. Finding the right salesperson is damn near impossible. We are very blessed here with the situation that we have. Then to scale out, we wanted to open it to a new market. So last January, I made a huge mistake in my business. I hired a guy that I should not have hired, and I put him on a pay structure that was not sustainable, and that was an extremely great learning lesson for me in my business. But it almost put me out of business. Had I not let the guy go when I did, if I'd held on to him for another month, I may have ruined the internal structure of my business with the culture and on the capital side of things too. So I was going to open a branch in Longview, Texas, and I was going to put a guy on percentage-based pay. And honestly, there's not much money in gutters, so percentage-based pay doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So you've got to be able to pay people guaranteed pay and make it work out. The commission-based, like it is in the roofing industry, just doesn't really work out in the gutter world. But in doing that, I feel like I learned enough, and we solidified our team down to 6 people, and they're solid people. And now that we've gotten that, we've all been together for almost a full year. They have all made a core value that goes into the business. We keep them on the wall. And since then, we have allowed, his name is Chase Cunningham, to open the Rockwall branch. So we have a location in Rockwall, Texas. We have since January of 2023. And we're in the process of building it. And we're in a learning stage through that as well. Scaling a second location is very different than starting up from scratch at just one location. So that's the beautiful thing about business, is you learn a new lesson pretty much every day.
Yeah, dude, no doubt. And definitely having those spaced out a little bit. It's you're gonna have a lot of fun, man. You get to do a lot of traveling, you get to see a lot of the same things over and over and over again on the road. I did that for 3.5 years, and it was like I can drive to College Station, Texas with my eyes closed.
Right.
And I just know when to turn, and I know when to look, and and it's awesome, but at the same time, it can wear you out, and having the right people in place that you can trust, that have your best interest at heart, especially in a situation like what you just said, where, okay, we do have to guarantee that you're going to get paid. It's not like, go kill what you're going to eat in roofing, which there's a certain beauty to that as well.
Yes,
If you're willing to do that and you can make it work, it's wonderful. You can make more money doing roofing sales than just about anything.
that's right.
But there are a lot of people that need to have that. But also with that comes obviously the concern that you lose a little bit of your hunger, you lose a little bit of your motivation. How do you get people on board, ready to rock and roll, trained up to go run a location and know full well, hey, with no hesitation in my heart, knowing I can't be there every day, this is going to be the perfect person for it, and is going to continue to uphold that energy, and it's going to, do what's in the best interest when nobody's there looking over their shoulder. Because to me, that was where I ran into a bunch of problems. I had a bunch of dudes that like to play video games during the day.
Yeah, I heard.
It is what it is.
To find the right person, you're going to have to spend some time with that person. You're not going to know from one interview, 2 interviews, 3 interviews if a person is right or not. You need time spent in outside of work situations to understand if that person's correct to open a location. Then to convince them to open the location, to convince them to take the position and take on the risk, you have to sell them the dream is what we call it. Most people don't really think about where they're going to be in a couple years. They just don't. They set goals, but they usually set short-term goals. But I don't think that people actually take time to visualize where they want to be to 2 to 3 years. So if you will do that for them, a lot of times they'll grasp onto that vision and run with it. So, if you can, now it's got to be good and you have to follow through with your promises. But if you can tell a person, you come into this position, it's going to be a lot of hard work. It's going to take a lot of time. But if we do these things step by step by step and we're successful, then in 2 years, this is where we could be. And if that's attractive enough that that person goes, 2 years worth of work to get there. Okay, cool. He accepts the position. All right, now the work begins, because you, as the leader and the visionary of the company, have to prove to that person that you're all in, to support them on whatever they got to do, that you're all in to grow the location, that you are there to work right beside them if you need to. It's not here, point a finger, you go grow this thing. If you're the visionary and the leader of the company, you still are pushing. You're like the head coach of the football team. You're pushing everyone forward. You're just instructing people on what to do at a certain level. So, and then just like a head football coach does at a post game, if he loses a game, if y'all take an L on the day, or if something bad happens or you lose money on a job, does the head coach go, man, my team played like shit? No, the head coach is supposed to say, I should have prepared my team better. So you got to take all the accountability on things that go wrong. You got to give all the credit for things that go right away to that person to build them up and build their energy up so they know what they're doing is successful. And then after you've done that and you've got that person in place, you have to let them run without micromanaging them. So let them take their ideas. You believed in this person. Let them go do their thing.
Novel concept, my friend. I mean, amazing. You hire people to do a job and then you just, don't let them do what they're supposed to do. But okay, so you've got a very good idea on how that works, on what it looks like, and how you develop people. And like I said, I've known you long enough to know that you develop some superstars, and I've seen them, over and over again. It's a pattern. To get your team, you've got 6 on your team right now. You said you kind of pared it down a little bit. To get the top 6, how many people did you talk to in total? And what's the ratio to find one person that, like you say, is going to buy into a longer term picture? That's a hard sale right now, especially for a lot of people, because, let's just be truthful, roofing, gutters, it's a different mindset. Most of the people in our industries are short-term thinkers. It's like, dude, let me make my beer money on Friday and I'll be broke on Tuesday, so I'll show up for work. How do you, number one, get the caliber of people that you want? Because I know you're not just working with bums. And how do you get them to buy into that, knowing, okay, it's going to be what I say, but here's what it is right now at this moment. And, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, and first I'll say, we've probably been through 8 to 10 people that have been let go from this company to get to the 6 that we have. So I'm going to go back to time, because you're not going to be perfect in the beginning. Business is a learning experience from day one. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, and a lot of those mistakes are going to be the people that you hire. And all business is just try not to repeat the mistakes. So in the beginning, I really struggled with hiring. I would hire the first person who came to the interview. I'd hire them on the spot. Be here tomorrow. And that would put me in a lot of situations where, anybody can come in and fake a 10-minute interview. And so I went through a couple people that way until I realized, and I got some mentorship from some other business owners that you should maybe do a couple interviews before you start hiring people on the spot. And so having to fire someone is the worst experience that I've had in business. I almost cry every time. I'm not kidding. Having to fire someone is absolutely terrible, especially if you know that they have a family and your income that you're giving them is supporting that family. But if that person is dragging down the entire team, then that can't happen either, because everyone's has to keep their job. So, you know, it just takes time. I now do, this last person that we hired, I think we interviewed 3 people before him. So we hired the 4th person that we interviewed. And I would not have done that a year ago. I'd have just hired the first guy. And now that 4th guy is awesome. He's a rock star here at the team. So you have to, you got to hire slow, fire fast. If you see some red flags, you need to have non-negotiables on your mental that you just know, if I see this, if a person lies directly to me, there should be like a list of things that are fireable offenses that are standards in your company that you just always know about. And if they don't meet those standards, you could pull them aside and talk to them once or twice. But if they still don't meet the standards and they're pulling the team down, then they got to go.
Yep. Dude, I love that so much, because it's hard to be selective when you've got, a thinner talent pool. In all honesty, I mean, it's tough because you put an ad out saying, okay, I'm looking to hire a sales rep for my seamless gutter company. It does kind of limit, people look at the trades as not, something that's desirable.
Mhm.
But you get the people in, and, you're a young business owner, you've got a good core. Obviously your team is going to communicate with you whether or not someone that you bring in is good, bad, neutral, hey, we can work with them, or they suck.
Yep.
Tell me, a little bit about that dynamic as well, because when I was hiring people, I would usually have, 1 or 2 people with me from the team to kind of keep me in check. Cause I'm like you, I want to hire everybody. I want to help everybody. And, sure, we made some mistakes. We hired some people that probably we shouldn't have. And then we hold on to them a little bit longer as well. It's just who we are as people.
That's right.
So you've got a team that holds you accountable. Tell me a little bit about the dynamic. Is there can anybody in your company come directly to you and say, Cole, look, this person that you hired, they're seemingly pretty cool here on the surface, but I saw this or that. Do you have a culture where you feel like if there's a problem, every single person on your team can directly come to you with anything and not have to worry about repercussions of any sort?
Absolutely, I do. And it has happened before. We have meetings over the standards of the quality control of what is expected on a gutter job, how they should look. And I'm actually our worst installer now that everyone else works here, which is
a good problem.
Right. But yes, I've had moments in the past with others that we've had to let go, where people have come to me and said, hey, they did this downspout wrong. They knew it was wrong. They didn't want to take the extra time to do it the right way. They were tired. They just left. So I've had some moments like that where they haven't come to me. Nothing has come to me lately. So either they're hiding it from me or everything's going smooth. Hopefully everything's going smooth. But yes, that culture, it's a culture of, if you have an idea, I want to hear it because it might be better than my idea. If you've got something that can make the company better, I want to hear it, because all I have interest in is making the company better. If I make the company better, then everyone who works here live is going to improve, and there'd be more room for advancement. And we have meetings regularly about the growth and the vision of the company and where we're headed. And everyone is at those meetings, even the production guys. And so everyone knows there is a position for them to advance if they stick around and do the work for as much time. But it's a collective that we all have to work together. We also have like a rule where, we get a lot of calls for little bitty things. Splash guard needed over the front door. Leak in miter on someone's house that just needs to be sealed. So we have a rule that if it's something like that, where one person can go out and they don't have to pull the gutter machine to the job, we just do that for free. We do it for free, and we ask for a Google review. We have the culture of everyone here knows that every single person that you interact with is a future referral to someone else. Even if they don't pay us, even if they don't even hire us and we don't do any work for them, if we just treat them right with the idea of solving the problem and that's it, we're not here to squeeze all the money we can out of you, that leads to so many more word of mouth referrals in the future. And I think everyone on the team understands that. And, we host review competitions for Google, and the guys on the team are amazing at asking homeowners after the job to leave us a Google review. Um, we're going to host a quarter one dinner actually tomorrow night to celebrate the first quarter and give out some bonuses and prizes like that. So the culture is what I've always wanted to work in. We've built the ideal culture for me, at least. I love coming to work every day, and they all say that they love coming to work every day, and I actually think that they believe it.
Dude, yeah, because you can't fake it. That's so amazing. I love that. And it was never a doubt in my mind that you were going to build something that was going to be special. I remember when you first started it, it was like, yeah, you know what? That's just going to work. Like, you just know it's going to work.
I'll say one more thing too. Facebook, the way you post on Facebook and brand yourself as your person is better for attracting talent to your team than it is for attracting clients. Similar to how you're always branded on Facebook, Chuck, you have a great brand about yourself. So when you make your announcement that, you may be looking for a new venture, how many offers did you have?
Well, quite a few. It's
and
crazy how that works. But, and it was something that, the one that I ended up with was like the first one that reached out and was the one that I would have never even probably thought of, to be honest. Right. So pretty amazing. And then I come to find out this whole podcast, Keepin It Rio, that I've been doing for almost 2 years, same deal, Cole. My target demographic, I never quite knew what it was. Like, I didn't want it to just be roofers. And I mean, I've had all kinds of unique guests. So I've done a good job of it not being a roofing specific, but I've had a lot of awesome roofing people as well. But when I started over here at Business 411, it was crazy because people that I'd never met before, people that I've never spoken to, I have no clue, are calling me up and they're like, dude, I saw your episode from a year ago that had Larry Andrews on it, and it impacted me so much that I reached out to him and he sent me an autographed copy of his book. And I'm over here like, dude, what? Like,
how am I making this impact?
This is crazy to me, right? And yeah. This was fun. I mean, you were with us when we were at ASAP. This was one of those, it was one of those quarter initiatives that we were doing for the management team. And it started off as a live stream that me, Eric, Jeremy, and Shoop were doing. Mm-hmm. And it evolved into this. And now this is like 120 some episodes deep. It's crazy how it works, and it's like, I think it's just getting started. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. And, awesome, dude, it's crazy. I would have never guessed, but here it is.
Thinking about the roofing industry just as a whole, when I left the roofing company, my initial thought was start my own roofing company, right? Because that's pretty much what I knew, and that's what everyone does. And that's why I didn't do it, because that's what everyone does. That's what I kept saying in my head is there's 100 roofing companies in town, and these guys need a gutter guy. And there's not anybody that's going to take care of them the way that I am. And so that was the whole idea of not recreating another roofing company and trying to find something that could service all the roofing companies.
Right. I mean, and it's a major need. And I saw that immediately and was like, dude, there you go. Like, you're so right. Most people, when they're in roofing, that's what we deviate off into, is roofing, because that's what we know, but gutters, huge need everywhere.
That's right.
You're getting into a second location. You're starting to build that thing up. Let me ask this, Cole Reynolds, in 5 years, what do you see Greenway Gutter Pros as far as size, magnitude, the amount of people that you're able to reach? I don't like to do revenue because that's all subjective, if you can do $10 million and do 3 jobs, I highly recommend that rather than doing,
Yeah,
10 million jobs for $3. But what's your long-term goal for the company? What are you looking to do with it? And, what's the next step?
Over the past year, my biggest focus has been structuring the business the proper way, putting myself on W-2 from the LLC of the company, and making sure my financials were right. So I've learned a lot about accounting and how to do P&L reports and things over the last year, because the first year and a half, just honestly, I just kind of spent money out of the business account as I wanted to and didn't really do things the right way. So now that I've got things structured the right way, I see what it takes to be a truly profitable business, and it's very hard. Where will we be in 5 years? That is a great question, Chuck. I did not know that we would be here in 2.5 years. I could easily see us with 3 to 5 locations running 1 million plus out of each location. I could see us taking a franchise route and letting people open franchises under our name. I've explored that option. All I know is how to grow. I don't know how to stay still. Like, I am fully on if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. So I know that I'm going to press the company forward every single day. And once a month, I'm going to find a new idea or a new thing that can add more revenue and more customers. And over the course of 5 years, that momentum compounded on itself. I can't really give you, a real answer on where we could be in 5 years. We could be doing 5 to 10 million in revenue in gutters.
That's the real answer. I can't give you a real answer. So many people come in and they're like, yeah, we're going to have this, and that, and it's going to be awesome. And I was a victim of that myself. I had such grand scheme in my mind of what I wanted to do. And I realized immediately, no, that's not what I want to do at all.
I think real life experience in the business world will humble you. You're not as good as you think you are. I thought I was hot shit coming in to start a company. I thought I knew a lot. And every day I am quickly humbled and reminded that I don't know near as much about business as I thought I did. But I am learning at a rate that you cannot learn in a classroom. You cannot learn in a mastermind. You cannot learn from a mentor. The things that I'm learning from the real life daily experience of running a company is just amazing. A person that I really like watching is David Taggart. That dude is running his company in real time, and you can see it. If you're a real operator, you know what that shit looks like. And so, people like that, that's the type of energy I love. I'm after. I want to grow the brand and push people forward every single day.
Yeah, dude. And you're spot on. You and David Taggart are like the same guy. It's crazy. Like, I know both of you pretty well, and I've actually been to both of your teams and seen your meetings and stuff. And you're right. I mean, sometimes you just know, like, this dude gets it. He understands how it works. And maybe it's not the conventional way that they teach you in a book, but guess what, dude? That's the stuff that doesn't get you where you need to go. And being able to take that risk and just saying, I'm going to be the man. I'm the very best. I will never mess up. I will, if I do, I'll stand behind it 100%. That's how you build it, dude.
Super successful people have a bit of a God complex. They think that they're special.
Well, you have to, you've got to be a little bit crazy. I tell people with, every experience I've done going all the way back, in 2010, I literally just uprooted myself. I sold my home and I moved to North Carolina just randomly, dude.
Yeah.
We started a roofing supply company from scratch. And the guy that I'm working with, I literally met in the parking lot that morning, and it's like life-changing decision, but what the hell, I can do it. No problem. Yeah. Moved to Texas, dude. Same thing. It's like, I met a guy that was a roofing company owner and I never sold roofs. I didn't know. And it's like, yeah, dude, I'll relocate halfway across the country. If you don't like me, you can fire me the first day. I got this, Right. You have to have that complex, but being able to harness it as well. There's a big difference between being arrogant and being confident.
Yep.
And I think your people recognize that. And when they see, like, okay, this guy believes so firmly in what he's doing that he's going to stand at the forefront and he's going to be the dude that takes all the shots. He's going to take the left hook and the right hook so that we can continue moving forward. And, you know, you can't help it. No matter what you're doing, you can't help but draw the right people in. And to me, it's amazing. I love watching it. I got a chance to come visit your team, and it was so cool to see that and the facility that you've got. Just like super proud, bro. I can't say that enough. You were one of those guys that I wish I could have worked with longer.
Right.
And it just, you know, it never quite panned out. Everything was kind of going together at different times and such. But
I'm pretty confident we'll be doing some business together in the future.
I think so too. And I think that's a cool thing. And I'm super happy with my opportunity, which is going to lead me to kind of winding down our interview. I usually try to keep it around an hour.
Okay.
I know you've got a whole bunch of stuff going on, successful entrepreneur. That's why we did a 6 a.m. Recording. But let me ask this, okay? You recently, and this is my shameless plug for me. I do this. I have a podcast for this very reason. Recently, I was looking at my new team, Business 411, and some of the 5-star reviews that they've received from satisfied clients and folks that we've helped. I couldn't help but notice that Cole Reynolds was on that list for a 5-star review recently with Business 411. If you wouldn't mind, for my own, you know, I'm going to clip this and put it out for the world.
It'll be good.
Tell me a little bit about your experience with Business 411.
I had a business disaster happen. My Google listing was shut down, and we were first on the Google Maps pack of the 3-pack on Google, and we were receiving over 50 organic leads on Google every single day. And in trying to set up a second Google location in Rockwall, they flagged the first one as a duplicate and completely removed it off of Google. And instantly, my number one source of leads disappeared. And as you can imagine, I panicked bad. And I jumped on Facebook. Someone help me out. And Elizabeth from Business 411 commented and said, we can help you out. Click this link. And so I set up a quick call. Can't quite remember who I talked to, but I talked to a man, and that he gave me the greatest advice, and he didn't charge me. I didn't end up actually paying Business 411 or doing any real business, but I think y'all saved my Google location, because everyone else said, keep filing reinstatement forms. Keep filing reinstatement forms. And the guy from Business 411 said, if you've already filed one, don't file reinstatement forms over and over. Google doesn't like that. You might get flagged and take even longer. What you should do is place a call. You may have to be on hold for a while and ask them to make it an urgent care situation. And so I took the advice from Business 411. We jumped on Google. We had to hold for like 2 hours before we were able to actually talk to a Google rep. He put urgent on our file. And I believe 2 to 3 days later, our Google was back up. We were down for a total of 6 days. So thank you to Business 411 for the good advice, because I almost sent in multiple reinstatement forms and really got my profile shut down. So, you know, that saves us 80 to 100 leads per month. That's our entire business.
Boom. And that's something that most people would not even really understand that Business 411 provides. And I think the depth of services and products available are really what are surprising to a lot of the people that I'm talking to. So it was so cool to hear that story, to be able to help one of my friends.
Yep.
I love that stuff. It's so cool. So thank you for that testimonial. That'll probably go out here before 8 o'clock this morning, because that's just how I roll.
Good.
Let's wind it down, Cole. So people want to follow Cole Reynolds. They want to follow Greenway Gutter Pros. And a lot of people that watch this, like I said, are not in the roofing industry. I have a ton of, it's actually crazy. I look at the numbers. I have like fans like all over the world.
That's awesome.
You know, just saying.
Yeah. Chuck's
I don't know if they're VPNs or what, but you know, I'm pretty popular over there in like, you know, some of those like Ghana and stuff like that. I'm not sure what's going on there, but Keeping It Real is very revered by the folks. I just had a guest that was on the island of Vanuatu, which is
Vanuatu.
7,000 miles in the middle of the ocean. So here we are. If any of my folks would like to follow your journey, are inspired by what you've had to say today, which was amazing business oriented conversation for sure.
Yeah.
And just want to, you know, see what's up or want to get their gutters taken care of. What's the best way to follow you, your company, get a hold of you? All that fun stuff.
If you want to get a hold of me personally, probably Facebook would be the best way. Direct message me on Facebook. I'm not on a whole lot of platforms. Facebook's pretty much it. And then for the gutters, we have a YouTube channel, Greenway Gutter Pros. And then our website's greenwaygutterpros.com. If you need any gutters, go fill out the form there. Someone will contact you within 24 hours. And if you want any business advice, I love jumping on calls with random people for 20, 30-minute calls. So send me a message if you want to talk for a minute and ask a couple questions, or if you've got information that you think would be valuable to me. I love to learn, so I'd love to hear from you too. So, and then Chuck, I just want to say thank you for inviting me on the podcast, brother. You have an energy about you that is just undeniable, and everyone I've ever met that knows you agrees with that. Anytime I hear your name outside of you being in the room, it's always a positive conversation. And so I just appreciate you always bringing the positivity. You got that fire in you every single day, and it's obvious that no matter what venture you take, you're going to be successful as well.
Hell yeah, bro. I appreciate that. That's a good way to get my day started. I'm going to puff my chest out a little bit. Like, what's up? I'm positive about it. Cole, thank you, dude. Like I said, I've wanted to have you on since day one. I'm glad that we were able to get it to work out here today. Again, ladies and gentlemen, that's Greenway Gutter Pros, East Texas' finest gutter company. To everyone that watches Keeping It Rio and shares and subscribes, to that one person that leaves me stars every week, I swear one of these weeks it's going to pay off. You got to accumulate a bit of stars before Facebook will pay you. So one person, Jason Quimby, thank you, my friend. And everybody that supports Keeping It Rio, I appreciate it very much. So until next time, it's always my pleasure to remind everyone to keep on keeping it Rio.